So yesterday I mentioned how when you make a post on your Facebook page, it only goes to 16% of your fans. Okay? And that's called your EdgeRank. Okay? EdgeRank is an algorithm on Facebook that will determine how much of your posts will be seen by your fans. It's similar to how we have search engine optimization for Google. Anyone familiar with SEO? Well, there's an algorithm on Facebook, so when you post, you can get more people to see it. There's also strategies that we can use, so that way when we post, more people will see it, and it'll stay alive on the news feeds longer. You ever notice, well, sometimes you'll see a post that's maybe like 2 or 3 days old on the news feed, still showing up on your news feed. Every time you log in, there's always this one really annoying guy that's always on your news feed. Ever notice that? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how, when you find great content, how to make that content show up on the newsfeed to get the most amount of people to see the content, comment on it, like it, and share it. So EdgeRank is based on 3 factors: affinity, weight, and time decay. Affinity is Facebook as a software trying to determine how well your fans know your business. It works the same way on personal profiles. Facebook, the software, remember it's a software, it's not a human, it's a software trying to find signals that are happening on Facebook.com, things that we're doing, that are determining if our friends are our real friends or they're just people that we added to our network. So it works at both. On personal profile, it goes friend to friend, and on fan pages, it goes from your company to your fans, to your customers, to your prospects. So it's this software trying to determine who are the people that really want to see these updates. If Facebook showed every update from every friend and every fan page on your newsfeed, you would have a bunch of junk on your newsfeed. They're already trying, everyone's creating more software, there's more technology being built to try to aggregate information into the stuff that's most important to us. There are entire companies built on this concept alone. Okay? It is where I believe where the future of social media is going, is whoever can aggregate the content that we want to see is where it's going to go. There was a company actually in Vancouver called, I think it was Sumify. Anyone heard of Sumify? Correct me if I'm wrong, and if someone in here knows, I believe they sold to Twitter for $20 million. And what they did is they took the tweets out of your network and then would create a newsletter that would be emailed to you to show you all the top tweets from your network that you wanted to see. They got the algorithm so right, they got bought out by Twitter for $20 million. And now if you go onto Twitter, you'll notice you get this email all the time. Did anyone see that? And that email that shows you all the top tweets, that's Sumify. Right? So Facebook's been continuously growing this algorithm and tapering it down to get more and more narrow. So as time progresses, we are going to see less of the status updates that we may want to see. But it's Facebook trying to make Facebook.com, the newsfeed, more relevant. Because there's too much noise. I know when I go onto Twitter, I see every post from everybody, and it's all time-based. Right? If you make a post on Twitter 5 seconds ago, and I log into Twitter, your tweet is at the top of my newsfeed if I'm following you. On Facebook, it's not the same. On Facebook, it's determined by this algorithm to say that I'm going to show you the stuff that's going to be most relevant to you. And I believe that's why our average time on site on Facebook has grown over the last 2 years from an average of 30 minutes now up to 45 minutes. Right? So they're trying to grow the amount of time that we stay on Facebook by giving us more relevant information on our news feeds. So us as marketers and as business owners, what we want to do is we want to break through that so that way when we make an update, it gets shown on the news feed to the maximum amount of people, and that way we can get the most reach, the most amount of unique people seeing our posts. Affinity, again, is based on how well Facebook, the software, thinks that your fans really know your business and know your fan page. Weight is about what you actually have attached to your post. If you attach photos, links, videos, offers, events, a milestone, any of those things that we talked about that you can attach, a tag, right? Any of those stuff, or you check in and you tag a location, that's all weight on your post. So the more media-rich content you can attach to your post, the better. But what really creates the most amount of weight are comments, likes, and shares. That's the gold nuggets of weight. The more comments, likes, and shares that you can get. So even if you have a status update that doesn't have any link attached, it doesn't have any video or photo, but you've asked a really good question, a really good opinion-based question, and it generates tons of comments. People like that you asked a question, so you get lots of likes. What happens is that's going to create lots of weight, and it's going to live on the newsfeed. And when your fans log in, they're going to see it at the top of their newsfeed. If you engage with your fans, it reignites your edge rank between you and that fan. And you can actually grow that default number of 16%. You can grow that number. I've heard people getting up to 25%. Some of the top social media experts will actually go in, look at their insights, and look at, without any promotion, they made a post, how many people did it get to without them doing any type of promotions? And you can actually calculate the number and figure out what your edge rank score is at any given time. There's also a software called edgerankchecker.com. I believe it's $20 or $30 a month, and they will monitor your edge rank score on a regular basis for you. They'll do the calculation for you. But you can go into Insights and manually do a calculation and find your percent. So if you're a social media director or you have somebody working for you managing your social media, I recommend making that one of your top metrics, is what is your edge rank score of the week or of the day or of the month? What is the default amount of reach that you get? How many unique people see your post without any promotions? All right? That's one of the top metrics that I think that you should be measuring. Time decay is about the last time that there was a comment or like or even a share, mostly about comments, on your post. So basically, when you make a post, after about a day, it's probably not going to show up on the news feeds anymore. After about 2 days, it's probably not going to be there at all. But it's based on what I've noticed is on the last comment that was made on the post. So I've got this little trick that I sometimes use. And I'm gonna tell you about it, but if I tell you, you have to promise that you're not gonna not comment on my stuff because I told you this, okay? Because a lot of people, I tell them, and they think that everything I post on Facebook is a trick, okay? It's not a trick, and I'm not doing this always on purpose. I'm just saying that if you wanted to do it on purpose, you could live your life on purpose. So there's peak times. We're going to talk more about peak times and the best times to post, but I'm just going to give you kind of a preview into some content we're going to go into in a little bit. The peak times are 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m., okay? Those are the peak times to get the most amount of engagement on Facebook. 11, 3, and 8, which is different than getting the most amount of clicks. But again, we're going to talk about timing later. So let's just say for engagement, it's 11, 3, and 8, and we know about time decay. So what we can do is we can post a question or an article, and when people make a comment on it, and they're commenting, and let's say we posted it at 11 a.m. People are commenting, they're responding, they're asking you a question about your question. You wait, and at 3 o'clock, you respond. And as soon as you respond, it's right to the back of the top of the newsfeed. And then more people will start commenting and responding, and then you wait, and then at 8 o'clock, you're right back on there, and you respond again. What will happen is you can keep this post alive for weeks at a time. It'll be on top of the newsfeed. And I kept this going one time for quite a while. I think we were at like 89 comments. But the challenge with it is it gets annoying, right? Because what happens is everybody that starts commenting, and then when you make a response and more comments, they keep getting notifications. So my friends started telling me that they avoid commenting on my status updates because they know they're going to get bombarded with notifications. So just so you know that if that ever happens to you, you can now turn off the notifications on any given post. So if it does start getting annoying for you, you could go in and just click on the post, and you'll see it says unfollow post, and you won't get any more notifications. But the average user doesn't know that. So you want to use this sometimes, but don't overdo it, because I want to talk a lot more about avoiding being annoying, because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to show you is you can get lots of exposure, get lots of comments, get lots of likes, but if you overdo it, you're going to be that annoying guy on Facebook. Don't give me that look. Yeah. Yes. Your time zone. Your time zone. Then it's your time zone. Yeah. Yes.
Does this apply to fans and your personal timeline?
Yeah, it applies to both. EdgeRank applies to your personal profile and your fan page. The reason why we have more EdgeRank on personal profiles is because Facebook, if it was all about business and all you would see is advertising and companies, it wouldn't be a place that you want to go and spend time on, right? We're mainly there to go and talk with our friends, right? So friends automatically would have more EdgeRank if you have a personal profile. Does that make sense? And so I really recommend networking as a person on Facebook. It actually is a very effective way, just networking online. And when you make a post on Facebook from your personal account, more of your friends are going to see it than if you were to go to your fan page and post to all your fans. Again, because Facebook is already giving you more weight, right? Because they want to show more friends than they want to show businesses. The other side, too, is the creepy friendship profile I showed you yesterday, right? We can create affinity, because two ways that we can create relationships with people is through either having things in common with people or letting them know that they're being heard. So we can go into our About page on our personal profile, and we can fill in our interests and our activities, and then when our friends also fill in the same stuff, then Facebook.com, the software, has now triggered that we've got stuff in common. We attend the same events. We're tagged in the same photos, right? So now they've determined that, okay, these two people are really good friends. They're actual friends. They actually know each other, right? So you're going to get much more EdgeRank that way by filling in your profile, right? The other way is letting people know they're being heard. So when someone does respond on your comments, you want to respond to them too and say, thanks for your comment. That was a great question. Or you can just like their status updates. I recommend that you're always the last person to respond on your posts, right? Without being too annoying about it, right? You don't, if they ask, if you say, if they leave you a comment and then you're like, hey, thanks for the comment, that was really great. They're like, oh, thank you for posting that. You're like, no, thank you. Okay? So, right, what I mean is that you've acknowledged their response, okay? Communication is about letting the other person know they're being heard. Because in the real world, how do we let somebody know that we're paying attention to them? How do we let somebody know that we're paying attention to each other? No, physically, right? Body language, right? We nod our heads, right? We high-five them, right? We have eye contact. There's a lot of stuff that we can do in the real world, but we're focusing now on our online communication skills, right? So if somebody comments or something, we always want to respond, and now we can like their comments, right?
And then they like our life.
Yeah, and
And we like.
yeah, it's like this never-ending like cycle. I'll just browse the news feeds, and I will like and comment on people's status updates, right? And again, it's not a trick, right? I'm reading the news feed. If I've read something, if I've enjoyed it, if someone posted a video and I enjoyed it, or they posted an article and I read it, I will never not comment or like on the post. If I've actually consumed the content that they've shared, I will let them know about it. I'll comment or I'll just click the like button. That makes sense? So you want to actively do this with your friends and with other fan pages. You want to actively do this because it's going to result in people commenting and liking on your stuff. It's reciprocity. So there's also better days to post than others. And this is all subjective information. So I don't want you to take this literally and only post on Sundays, Thursdays, and Fridays because Buddy Media told us to. Okay? This report came out in 2011 and talked about the best days to post. It was interesting that in 2012, they put out their next report. This was just a few months back. And it turned out that all the opposite days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Sunday, is that right? Or sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday became the best times to post. Because all the marketers figured out these were the best days to post to get the most engagement, so they were all posting on the same days. And so the next year it changed, and now it's the opposite, right? So what it really comes down to is you looking at your profile and you posting and seeing when do you get the most engagement and keep track of those days. There's a difference between when you should post to get the most amount of clicks and when you should post to get the most amount of engagement. Okay? Bitly, which is a URL shortener, okay? It's bit.ly. It's a URL shortener that a lot of people use on Twitter. It shortens a very long URL into 21 characters. All right. And what they did is they put out a report to show when people clicked the most. And it was Monday to Thursday, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's when you get the most amount of clicks according to Bitly. Okay? But we want to get clicks, but right now I believe that if we focus on engagement, we'll get more reach, and the clicks that we do get will be more qualified. So I believe that you should be focusing not necessarily on how much traffic you get or how many clicks you get, but on the amount of engagement you get. Because the purpose of posting isn't necessarily to get clicks. We do want clicks. But really, I think that the goal of posting is to build goodwill and trust. Because when we do want to actually sell something, I'm going to recommend that we're going to use Facebook ads. I'm going to show you how to use Facebook ads and how to do this. And I believe that is the time to sell and want them to click on something that they're going to want to go and buy. But I believe that our overall goal of posting, like why we post, what's the point, I believe is goodwill and trust. So I don't think that you should worry too much about how many clicks you got. Check it out. It is good to see. You posted something, got tons of clicks. Maybe you had a great headline that night, right? But let's focus on engagement. So the peak times in every report that's ever come out on Facebook for the best times to post for engagement is always Wednesdays, okay? Right in the middle of the week is the best days, okay? Different industries have different peak times. I know that the real estate industry, it was on Saturday and Sunday. We're always at peak times. People are shopping for homes on Saturdays and Sundays. If you go to buddymedia.com, they have a bunch of reports that you can go and read. Buddy Media, they manage social media accounts and Facebook accounts for some of the top brands in the world. So they have user data for, like, I don't know if it's hundreds of millions, I know it's several millions of companies. And they were recently bought out by Salesforce as well. And so because they have all this data, they're able to create these reports, and that's where we get this data from. It's from people that manage accounts that have the data to be able to back up these sources. So whenever you're trying to find sources like this, and it will change over time, right? You want to look for credible sources and figure out where the data actually came from and why it would be actually relevant. Because I've actually seen reports from people that reported on their fan page, which maybe had 10,000 fans, or whatever it was, and it was like, these were the best times to post, but it was only on their page it was the best times to post. It wasn't data across hundreds of millions, or I don't know how many actual people they have. We have a question.
Yeah, it was when you said source, what was that source?
Buddymedia.com. Buddymedia.com, yeah. So we talked about the best times to post, 11 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. I have also noticed, just from my own experience, that if I post really late at night, around like 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, sometimes even later than that, maybe 1 o'clock, I will notice that post, because nobody else is really posting in the really late evenings, I'm the only guy that stays up all night, then in the morning, that post, if it gets comments in the evening, in the morning when people log in, most people wake up, look at their Facebook. Who does that? Who wakes up and looks at their Facebook? Okay? A lot of people actually do that. Right? Or they check their email. I think checking your email is crazy. I'll check my Facebook, right? So they look at their Facebook, so the first thing they're going to see is the post with the most comments, likes, and shares, right? The one that has been getting the most engagement. So if you did post late at night, it would be okay, as long as it's not like a sales pitch, it's something relevant, it's within your industry, right? For example, I teach internet marketing. A lot of internet marketing are night owl. Internet marketers are night owls, right? So it makes sense. If I posted at night, I will get engagement, right? But if I had a retail store, I had a coffee shop, or something like that, and I posted at 12 at night, it's probably not the best time. The people who are doing business in that sort of an area are probably not up at 12 o'clock. Does that make sense? So you have to kind of know your audience and when is an appropriate time for you to be posting. You have a question?
Yeah, so like the Hootsuite auto scheduler.
Yeah.
Do you know what it runs on, like the algorithm, if it works on this or if it actually works on patterns within your networks?
Yeah. So there's a few different tools. There used to be a tool called, first of all, I'll tell you what the question was. The question was when you use an auto scheduler that will automatically determine the best times for you to post. Okay? You'll put in your post, and it will schedule it at the time that it thinks is the best time. So there was a tool, the first one I'd ever seen that did this was called Timely. And that tool is now obsolete. It's gone. The company shut it down. It was an amazing tool. I use it every day. There's a new company that's making something called TimelyNext.com. It's not available yet, but I've spoken with the developers, and they're going to let me know when it's ready for beta. And they've also they've told me that they were going to allow my network to try it when it's in the beta stage. So I'll email you when it is available. And there's also something called BufferApp.com, which will do that for Twitter. It'll buffer as soon as you put in your update. It'll schedule it on Twitter at the times that your Twitter followers are most active. Okay? It'll do the same thing on Facebook, and now Hootsuite, if anyone uses Hootsuite for doing this, it also has the same similar tool where it'll auto-schedule. But what it's doing is on Twitter, it's really great because it's determining when your fans are most active. When your followers on Twitter are most active. So when they're tweeting and then when they're responding. The API on Twitter allows them to have that information. But on Facebook, it's determining the engagement of your past posts on your fan page. So it doesn't necessarily know when your fans are most engaged on Facebook. It's determining when you've gotten the most engagement on your past posts. If there's not enough data for it, what I found is it just starts posting at weird times, like 6 a.m., that sort of thing. So I don't recommend using a third-party tool for posting on Facebook. I recommend going right to the Facebook page and scheduling it there and choosing your times. But that is how that would work. It's determining your past posts and the times that it got the most engagement only on your fan page. We have a question in the back.
If you post on your fan page and then you comment from your personal page, does it put any power?
All right, so the question is, if you post from your fan page and then you comment from your personal page. I do that sometimes, especially people because they know me and they know that I'm behind the web-friendly page. They'll sometimes respond and say my name, even in the post. I will switch and then be myself and then respond. It's okay to do that because it also creates more of a personal brand for you, especially if you have multiple people managing your fan page. It's an optional, you can do it. I don't think there's many negative sides to doing that. It also, when you comment as yourself, a personal person, on your fan page's status update, it creates a news story to all your friends that say that you commented on your post on your fan page, which will get all your friends to see it too. You don't want to overdo it or do it in a way to try to, get lots of exposure from your friends and annoy them. You know what I mean? So don't do it in a tricky way. But if you think it's appropriate to respond as yourself, there's not really a negative side to it unless you overdo it to the point where it's getting annoying. Does that make sense? Because if you do post as yourself on your fan page, it's going to create a story to all your friends. Sharing is the same, yeah. So the very best time to post on Facebook is at 3:14 p.m. on Wednesdays. Okay? This is pretty unanimous data. This data came from pagelever.com. pagelever.com. Okay? They're also associated with Buddy Media. Okay, but it's not about the time that you post. It's about how long your post will stay on the newsfeed. Okay? So when you post something, I want it to live a long time. So I want you to get comments and then respond, and it should be something that's going to be getting ongoing engagement. So what you should be really looking at is how long your post actually lives for. And it's about the context of the post as opposed to just the content. So what's the context of what it is that you're talking about? That's what's going to make the difference. Okay? And you do want to post as often as possible on your fan page without annoying your fans. There are fan pages that will post 4 or 5 times a day. Okay? There are news channels, like CNN, for example. If you follow CNN, they post a lot. They're a news source, right? So they'll get lots of traffic through posting very often. We don't necessarily have to post that often. We could post once a week or 3 times a week. I usually recommend at least 3 times a week. Okay? But if you're a social media manager and your job is to just manage the social media accounts, I'd probably look at a strategy where you're posting more frequently, more often. What I found is that when you make a post, then you make another post, the first post you made, it loses its edge rank. Okay? So the most recent post becomes the one that Facebook is promoting the most. So if you make a post and it's getting lots of engagement, and then you post again, you're actually killing the visibility of the post that's getting a lot of engagement already. So you're better off to wait and let that post live longer and then make your next post. But if you're a news channel and you're posting out news and links and articles on an ongoing basis, and that's why people are there on your fan page, right, then it makes sense to be posting more frequently. If you make a post and it doesn't get as much engagement as you hope for, then go ahead and make another post later in that day. You can wait 4 or 5 hours, make another post, try again. So So here are some ways that we can increase the lifetime of our post. I already talked about attaching photos and videos to your post. Remember these sheets that I gave out yesterday? It talks about all the dimensions for all the images on your page. An image that goes on the news feed on Facebook is 403 pixels by 403 pixels. That'll make it so they can see the entire image. As opposed to if you make it longer, and then they can only see 403 pixels wide. Right? So if you want to really create an engaging post with an engaging picture, get those images designed at 403 pixels by 403 pixels. You've got a question?
If you share, let's say on WordPress, and you do a post, your feature image, is that what you would use? That the featured image is a 403, and then the regular post you use?
It's different if you're posting. What the question was, if you're posting through WordPress, again, I don't recommend posting through WordPress. So if you're sharing an article and it has a link preview, that's different than sharing a photo, right? So you want to share a photo because it's going to be a big photo. It gets you lots of visibility in the newsfeed. Yeah, you have a question?
Do you have a certain amount of people before you begin to schedule it on Facebook? Because I don't.
You do not need to have a certain amount of people to schedule on Facebook. What you have to do is set the year that your page was, that your company was started. So you go into the admin setting that we went through yesterday, and you just have to set the year that it was started. By discussing current events, things that are happening today, if there's some big news happening, you're going to get lots of comments because people are going to be surprised by the news. My most retweeted tweet of all time is when there was riots in Vancouver, and I was very curious about what was happening, and I was looking through all the different images of people, what they were posting. I was searching on YouTube for stuff. I was really actively looking for the news because I thought it was really interesting what was happening. I was actually really baffled by what was happening. And I ended up finding a photo that had been posted, but not a lot of people were sharing it. And then I shared it along with a comment about what was happening in the photo, and I got something like 100 retweets because it was happening in the moment. So other times, news was happening. For example, actually, the way that the Facebook for Brands workshop got started was last year in January, Facebook had a big conference where they talked about Timeline coming out for brand pages. And I was watching all the conference videos and taking notes. And after my notes were complete, I realized that those notes might be valuable to other people. So I posted the notes on my fan page. It ended up getting lots of comments and lots of shares, and getting lots of likes, and it had lots of engagement. And that led people to start emailing me all these questions about the new Facebook for Timeline. And so I got so many questions from my friends after posting that, because it had gotten so much visibility, that I realized that I should create a workshop just for that. And that's actually how Facebook for Brands came about, was just by staying on top of the current events and talking about that. You always want to interact with your fan engagement. I already talked about this. If someone comments, you want to respond back to them. If you give somebody a call to action by using an action keyword, by actually asking them to comment, share, or like, so you could say, leave a comment if you agree, or click like if you love something, or share this post if you want to support the cause. You put a call to action in your post. It's called an action keyword. Okay? So you're actually asking them to take a specific action to do something. I found that giving away free stuff also creates lots of engagement. You could tell someone that they can get something for free by leaving a comment below and telling you an answer to something, for example. By Facebook contest rules, you cannot let a native Facebook app, so something that Facebook has built, to determine the winner of your contest. So if you say, if you put a trivial question, like, I don't know, I can't think of anything smart. Anyways, if you put a trivial question and then you say, leave an answer below and the winner will win a prize, okay? You have to choose that winner at random. You can't say, leave an answer below and whichever comment gets the most likes will win, okay? Because then you're using Facebook's features to determine the winner. You're not allowed to do that according to Facebook's rules, okay? So whenever you're choosing a winner for anything, just say you will choose a winner at random, and you just choose your winner. You can draw out of a hat like Nick talked about yesterday, You can do something to determine the winner, okay?